Welcome to Kojifusu Inspire. Today in our lecture, we are beginning a new course titled Ancient and Medieval Political Thought. This course helps us understand how early societies thought about politics long before modern democracy, constitutions, and then elections. When we study political thought, we are not just memorizing names like Plato or Aristotle or Socrates, but we are asking deeper questions about power, authority, justice, and the purpose of the state. These ideas still influence modern political systems, including Ghana and other democracies beyond. Let us begin by starting by gaining the grasp of this particular topic we are starting for today. So, by the end of this lecture, you should be able to understand what ancient and medieval political thought means, explain what political theory is, and the distinction between political theory, political thought, and then political philosophy. You would also appreciate why political theory is important, and not only for exams, but for understanding politics in everyday life. And then for you to also appreciate the fact that this is not an archaic thing or theories that you feel may be archaic. No, but you appreciate them within the social milieu in which these particular theorists find themselves, and then immerse yourself within this theory, which gives you better understanding and be able to situate it and link it to what our modern day society. So as we continue with this, I'll urge you to also write down your objectives because they will guide you forward for your examination. So we're going to start and we're asking ourselves is, what does ancient and medieval political thought itself means? So it refers to the study of political ideas from ancient Greece and Rome up to the medieval period. So roughly between the modern ages, like where the Greek era where we are referring to the likes of, you have Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. This is not limited to only these individuals. I'm just giving an example. The Roman era where you may have seen Aquinas, Caesarus, all these, and then the medieval where you may find the likes of Niccolo Machiavelli, more like serving as a bridge between that of the ancient and the Greeks and that of the Rome. Yeah. So in early thinkers were deeply concerned with questions such as what is the state, who should rule, why should citizens obey the law, and all these things, right? So these thinkers examines idea about power, authority, citizenship, and the obligations and justice and law, right? And then with the relationship between the individual and the state. So most importantly, these ideas shape modern political systems that you see today. So concepts like democracy, citizenship, rule of law, justice that we ponder over today and we talk about today did not appear suddenly. They developed from these early debates and these eras. So when you study elections or constitution today, remember that you are still engaging with ideas first discussed thousands of years ago. So to our next slide, where we're looking at understanding political theory in itself. What is political theory? So you see an image where I'm just giving you a snapshot of seeing that of two distinct image, something like what it is and what ought to be. So we're going to understand this from this perspective, from this image I'm going to use. I've put it on the background over here on my left side. So political theory is a systematic study of political problems, right? It tries to understand how, or it tries to understand how people live together in groups and how political authority is what is organized, right? So political theorists use reason and then evidence, not emotions or propaganda. So political theories they want to solve problems. They want to find solutions to some of the problems that ponders or that worries humanity. So based on that, they're looking at the reasoning, they're looking at the evidence behind it, right? So political theory is concerned with two things. The first thing is, what is politics, as in what it is, what is it, or meaning how politics actually what works in real life. So for example, how what you're seeing this image, what is this actual image, what is it? And the second is, what ought to be. So for example, the image you are seeing over here, the first one you see on my left hand side, you're seeing something that is a little bit what blurry. You're seeing smoke, it's a little bit colored, not too colored, right? So that is what it is. Then the one you see with the man stretching in between, stretching his hand, showing what ought to be, right? Something very beautiful with some a nice society, but it is not that. So we say the first one is was a what is politics, or what it is, meaning how politics actually works in real life. And the second one is what ought to be, meaning how politics should work in an ideal society, right? So, for example, corruption may exist in reality, right? So, what is it? So, political theorists will ask whether corruption is what acceptable and what should be done about it. What ought to be. That is what political theorists would ponder over. So, moving to this particular slide, where we seek to look at the defining political theory in itself, right? So, earlier we tried to explain some concept or how political theory in itself and understanding. So, some of the definitions that surround political theory, where uh, the first definition that we're taking is like political theory is a systematic effort to answer enduring questions about power, justice, right, and the common good, and to show what kind of politics best promotes them. Then David Hale in 1991 also defined political theory in simple terms as ideas about government, state, and society. Andrew Hecker in 1961 also says that political theory is a combination of the search for what principles of a good state and the search for knowledge about political reality. So in a nutshell, what all these definitions are trying to point out to us is that it's talking about the fact that it explains, gives us understanding and analyze political phenomenon, whilst proposing what solutions to political what shortcomings. That's what political theory is. So all these definitions that we've said right now, that is what it means. So in simple terms, we are saying that political theory will help us understand politics and propose solutions when political systems would fail. And to our next slides, seeking to look at that theory. So somebody who writes is called a theorist, right? So these theories have certain things they ponder themselves with. I'm going to spend time over here because I want us to understand something over here. So political theorists will ask themselves, what exactly is power, right? Is power simply the ability to what command force, or is it the ability to influence people's behavior and decisions, right? So, for example, in ancient Greece, power could mean what? Direct participation in the assembly, which we'll talk about the Greek city-states in our subsequent slides, and then the other concept of philosopher Ken Plato and Aristotle in our subsequent slides. So look for that also on our channel. So in the medieval time, power was often what considered concentrated was in kings, in emperors, and then what in the church. In modern times, where for example in modern times in Ghana, the United States, the United Kingdom, power what includes what constitutional what authority, but not what, but also influence through what money, media, and what public what opinion. So you realize that if they are as political theorists ponder what is power, power actually in different eras has given us meanings in different ways, right? In ancient Greece, power was direct participation. In medieval times, power was about concentrated in kings, in the churches. In the modern eras, the likes of the UK, the United Kingdom, the UK, the US, and the Ghana, it includes what constitutional what authority. So we say that the point as well that power is not only about coercion; it can be what authority, persuasion, legitimacy, or control of what of resources. The same way, theorists will ponder who should rule. So the question is that who is best qualified to govern society? Should it be one person, a few people, or many? So you realize that in the ancient and medieval era, you find that Plato argues that philosopher kings should rule because they possess what wisdom, right? And Aristotle believed that rulers should depend, the rule should depend on what on virtue and the common good. And in the medieval Europe, you find kings offering what rule by divine what rule, meaning the authority was what believed to come from what from God. So all these words, that's why we seek to ponder, we seek to understand all this, as in when is government legitimate, right? So political theorists are not only interested in how government are formed, but also when government loses their right to rule. Because in ancient times, what the ruler becomes what illegitimate when he ruled for what personal what interest rather than what the common what good. In medieval thinkers debate whether people had the right to resist what unjust rule. So in modern politics, governments are often seen as what illegitimate when they violate what constitutions, support suppress a right, or the rule without what consent. So we've had some of these questions pondering or like around different places, different continents, from Africa to that of what Asia, to also the places like Europe, and we also have places like the Middle East, where all these have become what questions that we are asking now. So, what should the state do? These are all some of the things that political theories will ask and will ponder over. Right. Look at the difference between on this slide. So we're looking at the difference between political thought versus political theory, which is very important because most of the times people confuse political thought and political theory and say basically they are the same. They are related though, but they are not the same. Think of political thought as what people believe, and political theory as how scholars carefully what explain and analyze those beliefs. So the picture you see on your right hand side, you see what the first one written political thought. You see people discussion. This is the commentary that comes with it. What people are talking about, their belief, their ideas. That is political what thought. The political theory we see as a man sitting behind a desk. That's a single person's what idea. That's political what theory, right? So that picture just give you a mental picture behind your mind about how to represent political what theory and political what thoughts. So political thoughts refers to the general political idea held by ordinary members of a society. So these ideas grow out of culture, out of history, religion, and everyday what experience. So when people say a strong leader is better than democracy, that is political what thought. When elders, religious leaders, or citizens describe politics informally, they are expressing political thought. So political thought is often, I would say, an implicit, informal, and shaped by what the time and place people would live in. So you realize that within generations, sometimes the political thoughts can differ, can change. Because a particular generation can speculate or talk about something, whilst a different generation maybe have a different political thoughts within that particular what era. Now to political theory. So political theory is when a particular thinker sits down and systematically what examines political ideas using logic, argument, and evidence. So when Plato writes the Republic to explain who should rule and why philosopher king are best, that is political what theory. And in our subsequent videos, you see that of what the philosopher king that of Aristotle and the rest. So when Thomas Hobbes also explained why people need a strong state in the Leviathan, that is political what? Theory. So political theory is disciplined, it is structured, and often written with the goal of what? Explaining or even what? Changing society. So let's imagine um, a student Osajifo find himself at an eating place, night market, right, with other students, right, and he says that politicians only care about themselves. That is political what? Thoughts. That's political thoughts. Osajifo standing at night markets with that student and then saying that, oh, politicians only care about themselves. That is political what? Thoughts. Now imagine a scholar writing a book, or imagine a scholar, or like let's say Dr. Mwajiman, writing a book explaining why politicians behave this way, using concepts like power, institution, and incentive. That is political theory. That is political what? Theory. So, in a nutshell, political thoughts is what people believe about politics, whilst political theory is what thinkers analyze and organize those beliefs into clear arguments. So, in this course, we have studied both what the focus on on what political thought is and what political theory what is in this particular what slide. Let us move to political philosophy. So after we've pondered over that of political thought and political theory, now we're moving to political what? Philosophy. So political philosophy goes a step further. So it is not just about how politics work, but about how politics ought to be. How politics what ought to be. So imagine Osajifo again at night market saying it is wrong for politicians to steal public money. Leaders should be what fair to everybody. This statement is not about facts. What Osajifo just said at night market among the students you are having a discussion about it's not about what facts or statistics. It's about what is right and wrong. That is political philosophy. That is political philosophy. So, for example, political political philosophy is what it deals with that normative question, which is meaning questions about what ought to be. So Osajifo was just saying what ought to be, right? So when Osajifo says leaders should be what should be fair, he's saying that, or he's talking about what justice. When Osajifo says that citizens deserve fair treatment over there, he's talking about what right. When Osajifo points or says that, oh, citizens should be free and not be oppressed, he's talking about what liberty. So when Plato asks who should rule, he is doing political philosophy. When Aristotle asks what is the good life, he is doing political what philosophy. But note, political philosophy tries to what replace opinion with what reasoned what knowledge. Reasoned knowledge. It asks not just what happens in politics, but what should be. So let's take note that political philosophy is political what thought, but it is what deeper, more reflective, and more what concerned with what moral what questions about power, justice, and what and authority. We move to the characteristics of political what theory. So the first characteristic we want to talk about is that political theory is intellectual and then what? Moral. So we see political theory is not just about talk, it involves deep thinking and moral judgment about what? Right and wrong what? In politics. Right? So another one is characteristic that it explains society and political what life. So political theory tries to explain how society works, why conflicts happen, and how what cooperation what is possible. So why do the rich and the poor what group clash in society? Why do people obey law? Political theory what tries to explain these things. So these are some of the characteristics of this. So it draws from what many disciplines. So political theory does not stand alone. It borrows ideas from what philosophy, from history, from economics, from sociology. Yeah, so to understand poverty, political theorists may what use what economic ideas. To understand power, they may use what history, right? It is not just academic. It's what it wants what change. So political theory does not only what describe society, it often wants to improve it. So when thinkers argue for democracy instead of what dictatorship, they are trying to what change society. Another characteristic is that it reflects values and belief. So these are all some of the characteristics of what of political what theory. Why study political theory? So to understand this, at this point, you may ponder over that. Okay, fine. Why does I need to study this particular political theory? What does it do? So to understand political reality and what and power. So political theory will help you understand who has power, how they get it, and how they use it. So, for example, why does a president have what more power than what parliament? Why do citizens obey even when they disagree? Political theory helps us what understand these questions. Another important is that to clarify key political what concepts. So we use words like freedom, justice, equality, authority every day. But political theory helps us understand what they really would mean. So freedom does not mean the same thing as what the same thing to everyone. Political theory help us ask freedom from what? Freedom from whom? That is it. Another important is that to give us clarity or to be able to help us what evaluate political what beliefs. So political theory what trains us not to accept political ideas what blindly. So when the leader says that this policy is good for everyone, political theory teaches us to what ask good for who and at what cost. So realize that you really ask questions. When they say, "Oh, we're going to do this," no, no, no. What are you going to get from it? You want that's what political theory trains us to do. So to identify problems and what and propose what alternatives. So political theory does not just what complain. It looks for the best way of what organizing society. So if democracy is not working well, should we reform it or replace it? So political theory helps us what to think about what alternatives and to guide political actions and what and leadership. Polit- Political theory what guides leaders, policymakers, and citizens in making what better decisions. Example like laws on justice, rights, and governance are often based on what ideas first developed by what political what theorists. And as we carry on, you appreciate the concept of justice, where all these things emanated from, where this discussion started from, and how we've gotten here in terms of the concept of justice, citizenship, and all these things. So thank you very much for watching our YouTube video. So I'm going to say that if you need quality bed sheets, Sewa Sleep Haven what sells affordable duvet, bed sheets, and curtains, free delivery across Accra. You can order now, call or WhatsApp the number on your screens. You're going to get the best deal affordable for you. So it's high quality at a very what cheaper price. Just use the name Edmond. And then Adam Cereal Mix also what has the best of Tom Brown for you. It is healthy. It's the best you can get on the market. You have rice, you have wheat, you have granite, peanut, you have soya beans, you have almond, you have cinnamon. If there's any kind of mixes you want to be added to your Tom Brown, you can just reach out to what Adonsia Mix with the phone numbers available, and then she's going to get it for you the best price ever at the best word discount. Just use the name Edmond. And then thank you very much for subscribing to our channel. So if you like our videos, as I said, please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and then like our videos for us. Thank you very much, and then watch out for the next videos on the subsequent one.